Okay, let's talk about getting ahead. You probably think it's all about learning new stuff, right? Reading more books, taking more courses. But what if I told you the single most important skill today isn't about learning more? It's actually about unlearning. In a world that changes in the blink of an eye, being able to let go of what you think you know, well, that's become the ultimate survival skill.
And to really get what I'm talking about, let's kick things off with a story. It's a classic corporate showdown, a real David versus Goliath. And yeah, you've definitely heard this one before, but trust me, probably not through this lens. So in one corner, you've got Blockbuster Video. I mean, they were the undisputed king, right? Over 9,000 stores, a global giant. Their formula was simple and, man, was it profitable. And then in the other corner, you have Netflix. They started as this tiny disruptor with a kind of crazy idea about mailing DVDs. But here's the thing. They saw a future that Blockbuster just couldn't, or maybe more accurately, just wouldn't imagine.
Okay, now let's fast forward to 2010. And it is game over. The giant is down. Blockbuster files for bankruptcy. Meanwhile, Netflix, and this is the crucial part, had already started unlearning its own successful model. They were ditching the DVDs and absolutely exploding as a streaming powerhouse. The lesson here couldn't be clearer. The future doesn't belong to the biggest, it belongs to those who can unlearn the past.
So what was the secret sauce here? What really made the difference? It wasn't just about the technology, not really. It was a mindset. Netflix was willing to throw out its own successful playbook to build the next big thing. Blockbuster? They just clung to their old model until it became a museum piece.
And that whole story, it perfectly sets the stage for the core idea we're digging into. This powerful cycle of learn, unlearn, and relearn. It sounds so simple, doesn't it? But this little framework is the absolute key to staying relevant in a world that, let's be honest, just never, ever stops changing. You know, the futurist Alvin Toffler absolutely nailed this decades ago. He said the illiterate of the future won't be the people who can't read and write. It'll be the people who can't learn, unlearn, and relearn. He saw that the biggest challenge wasn't going to be finding information, but being willing to let old information go. So just think about that for a second. How many of your own beliefs or skills might be, well, quietly collecting dust?
So here's the cycle. Step 1, learn. We get it, we're good at that. We go to school, we read books. Step 2, unlearn. Ooh, now this is the tricky one. This is about intentionally letting go. And step 3, relearn, adopting something new. We're all pros at the learning part, but that middle step, unlearning, that's where the real magic happens. It's the conscious act of discarding old mental software so you can install the new upgrade. And that's exactly what we're focusing on.
All right, so let's get right to the heart of it. What exactly is unlearning? Because it's not the same as forgetting. Not at all. It's an active, totally strategic process of clearing the decks to make way for what's next. Yeah, see, unlearning is something you do. It's an intentional act. I like to think of it as spring cleaning for your brain. You're consciously going through all your mental furniture, your beliefs, your habits, your assumptions, and asking, hey, does this old way of thinking still work in here, or is it time to toss it out and make space for something better?
And this chart, it breaks down the difference perfectly. Just look at that first row, nature. Forgetting is passive, right? It just kind of happens. But unlearning is active and intentional. It's a choice. To go back to our example, Blockbuster didn't forget how to run video stores. They actively refused to unlearn their total dependence on them. That's a huge difference.
Here's a great way to think about it. Unlearning is like defragging your mental hard drive. You're not wiping the drive clean, not at all. You're just reorganizing, clearing out the junk files and the obsolete programs so you can install powerful new software and run at top speed.
Let's look at a classic example of a belief many of us need to unlearn. This old idea that failure is the opposite of success. I mean, we're taught this from day one, but honestly, that belief is a cage. It traps us in our comfort zones, and it is an absolute killer when it comes to innovation.
But what happens when you successfully unlearn that fear? Well, you make room to relearn a much more powerful truth, that failure isn't the end of the road. It's just data. It's feedback. In fact, it's the very fuel you need for growth and for those big breakthrough ideas.
And here's another one. This one is a silent killer for successful people and companies. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. This was basically Blockbuster's unofficial model. Their system was working beautifully, making tons of money, so they saw no reason to change. And well, we all know how that story ended.
This right here is the unlearned belief.
The most innovative organizations understand that the very thing that made them successful can become an anchor. They constantly question their own formula, which is exactly how you stay ahead of the curve.
Okay, so we've covered the what and the why. Now for the most important part, the how. Let's dive into some practical strategies you can actually use to start unlearning, both for yourself and for your organization. So, if you're ready to start your own mental defrag, here are a few things to try. First, question your why. Really ask yourself why you hold certain beliefs. Second, seek out diverse perspectives. Go talk to people who challenge your assumptions. And finally, and this one's huge, don't just stop an old habit. You have to replace it with a new one.
Now, for organizations, it all comes down to culture. You have to create a safe space for people to challenge the status quo without fear. You need to reward the new behaviors you want to see, not just the old ones that feel comfortable. And hey, don't be afraid to bring in outsiders who will question the way we've always done things here.
Now let's be real, this is hard. Unlearning goes against our very nature. We crave the comfort of the status quo, we fear the unknown, and our egos absolutely hate admitting we were wrong. But just acknowledging these barriers exist, that's the first crucial step to breaking through them.
So where do we go from here? If there's one big takeaway from all of this, what should it be to help you move forward?
It's this. Unlearning isn't a project you complete. It's not a one-time event. It's a continuous mindset. It's a commitment to staying curious, staying humble, and being flexible, constantly scanning for what you need to let go of to make room for what's next. That right there is the engine of lifelong relevance.
So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. What's your blockbuster? What's that one successful habit or that long-held belief that might be holding you back from becoming your own Netflix? Take a moment to really think about it. What do you need to unlearn?